Many items I think we can skip over because Tom isn't here today. He's been working on a couple of them, so.
Okay, now since we also have the new list, we're the way I like to do this is everybody gets a question. And then if it's a really interesting question, we might do a follow-up. If not, we move on to the next person. Okay. So we move on. We're not gonna have an endless discussion tonight about whether or not the I is dotted properly, okay? So Larry, you're up.
Let me start off with a report of where we're at.
Okay. It's up to you. Yeah, it's fine.
Let's get this thing here. So this is a picture of the school, or a layout of the school. This is along School Street. This is Wine Avenue here. So, I'm gonna look at my notes here. They're just now starting to do they've started to lay out piers and footers on this, and this is area A right here. They're laying out piers and footers in this area right here. Let's see. Area B is from here to about here. This area, they have done, most of the demo's been done. They're working at, there's a small bathroom in here, they're working in that. The classrooms have the metal studding and the bulkheads finished. That's all done. Area C, which is right here, and it goes down to about here where the mechanical room is. This is area C right in here. Area C are electricians. There's an electrical equipment room underneath this mezzanine. They're roughing in panels, switch gear, conduit, getting that all roughed in. There are no wires being pulled yet, but that's a work in progress. We have ductwork being put in here. I'm sorry, I'm gonna jump back to B. I forgot to mention the sprinkler fitters. The sprinkler fitters have gone as far as they can go in this area with the fire protection piping. So that's as far as they can go for now. Also, the electricians in this area B, they're as far as they can go for now. They're on a pause. They're working in the mechanical or the electrical equipment room. They need a little bit of information on smart boards. We need some information about that. They're gonna look at rough in and stuff like that. Going back to area C, my apologies for jumping around. Area C is this area here. All these footers and piers have pretty much been poured in the center here. They're finishing up the foundation walls today. That's where we're at today. Down again in area C, there were windows in the multi-purpose room up high on the north side, which this way is north. These have been blocked in. They had a RFI in for this area with regards to the ductwork and everything that was on our last meeting. I believe that has been answered, and I believe that they're moving forward with that. Again, this is area C. They've got most of their ductwork in here. The sprinkler fitters have their fire protection is in this area here. They have moved on to this wing down here. This is area D. The sprinkler fitters have moved on down here. We do have ductwork going in place here in the hallway and the corridors and that. There's cable tray in this area here. These areas D, this is in addition, D west. They have the footers, foundations, and are all done. They are currently infilling this because this is all going to get poured. There's going to be a floor in there, concrete floor. They've been putting gravel in there. When I left this afternoon, Earth Tech was in there. They're going to get compaction results for here and also D South. It has the gravel in. I don't know, they're going to be pouring that in the near future, the floors. So that's where they're at with that. Also, Earth Tech is a third party for the general contractor. They check your concrete. They've checked the rooftop units, reinforcements, the welds, and everything like that. They also have done, there's some piers going in here. He was checking for a bearing in this area here. They were just getting started with that when I left. That pretty much sums it up. The sprinkler fitters are also working down through here, running their piping and stuff. So let me see what we got. Sheet metal, they got ductwork in place in area D. And I'm sorry, in this area here in the classrooms, they've got the restrooms all roughed in. but they're putting all the framing in from here down. They're working their way to the south towards the addition. So the framing's all going in. The windows are all out. I did give everybody a picture. On the front, the one with the ladder, I thought they were gonna be stacked, but on the front page, that is a mock-up. That is right here. This is on the south side of B. That's a mock-up. They just put that in today. And if you flip that over, they got another mock-up, and that was put in right here. This is on the north side of Area B. That's a mock-up of the window framing, if you're wondering what it looks like.
It's nice.
We do need information on the smart boards, and there were some questions about the roofing, which I'm sure you guys are all aware of.
I think Randy is hopefully going to be tomorrow at our construction meeting to talk to the electricians about the smart boards.
Okay, good. That'd be great. That's all I have.
And one
Questions?
thing Tony did point out, these aren't all gonna be glass panels. Some are metal.
Yeah.
Just so everybody.
I don't know what these little guys across the top are gonna look like. Are they red?
I don't have that. I have
That's
a
just part of the framing.
That's wood
Yeah.
framing above.
That's just.
Oh, where are you pointing?
There's
The wood
little,
framing on the top.
Oh, yeah, that'll be, yeah, I didn't see what she was pointing at. Yeah, that's wood frame, correct. So the panels below would be what you would be seeing.
we did pick the colors too.
Colors are good to go.
We're not gonna
We're
discuss the
good to
colors.
go. We're not discussing any
We're not
colors.
revisiting old decisions.
No, colors are done.
Other questions? Walter, questions for the, Larry, please.
At this time.
Rob?
Yes, ma'am. Larry, these, and I forgive my ignorance, this is pure ignorance. Is this all of the windows per classroom?
That's just one window that you're gonna see. You're gonna see these all the way across
All the way across, and then there's one window that will be an egress window in case
for
of
each,
emergency.
for each classroom.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you, sir.
What do you intend to do? What, in the next 10 days, what do you think you will be getting done?
Well, they're starting Area A. They're gonna be working towards Area A, moving forward with that. They have started to lay out the lines and stuff to start putting piers and footers in. That's where they're heading now. They are also working on the water retention area, which is outside of, let's see, that would be D, right where that old grass area was. There's gonna be a parking lot there now. They're working towards getting that water retention area, and they're removing soil from there. They're also gonna be pouring concrete,
And that's out towards the street.
Wine, that's long, do you want me to get the,
No.
that's between the
Where
building and
the
Wine
geese used
Street,
to walk,
where
No,
where
where the geese like to hang out.
Yeah, so there's gonna be a water retention there, and then over top, that's gonna be a parking lot. The other thing they're working on, they have a excavation for in Area C, where the teachers used to park, I guess traveling teachers.
Mhm.
There's an excavation there, there's gonna be a vault going in for the water meter and stuff like that. That's all dug, we're waiting on the meter, or the vault to show up. They're gonna be setting steel next week, 25th or 26th, they're gonna be starting to set steel next week. When I say set steel, there's gonna be floor joists going in, I-beams and such, just the first floor, we're not putting roofing steel in yet.
In which section?
All of them. They're gonna do D West, D South, and C. The addition for C out front where there was like a radius area there.
Yeah.
Well, that'd be an administrative area now.
Are you satisfied with the pace we're going?
They're doing, yeah, they're on pace. They're doing good. Yeah, the weather, they're moving. The weather has not held us up like it did earlier in the job when we had that cold snap with negative temperatures and snow. So they're moving. Yes, I'm satisfied.
That was my question. The only thing that matters to me, are we on schedule or not? And so that's,
There is,
The water vault, are we gonna talk about that tomorrow at the meeting? The water vault and the size of the
meter.
meter?
Yes, we did request information on that. I don't know what they're.
Nothing to discuss tonight, we'll discuss that tomorrow at the
Yeah,
meeting.
the vault is ready. They have it dug. I think it's coming this week sometime. I don't know that for a fact, but my understanding it was coming this week. We will know more tomorrow. We can ask, or J.C. Orr about that. They'll know.
Cheney, any questions?
No.
Questions?
No, I'm good.
Aaron,
Good.
Questions? Anybody? Wade, questions? I know it's not your direct problem, but okay. Okay, let's move on then to the architects. Thank you, Larry. I think that's a good report. You'll alert us, of course, if we start falling behind, because the weather could take another nosedive, so let's just be careful with that. Thank you. Okay, next we're on the architects' meeting notes and Larry's notes. Are those all?
Larry's notes are really just his presentation. The architect minutes, I've been trying to send those out when we get them. I just got them from our last meeting, so I sent them out to the entire board. I didn't have them to attach here, but they're really similar to what Larry is, just updating the board on where we're at
Questions?
so that you can see them from the architect.
Next, contract, general contract, CO6 additional 81,000.
These are a list of change orders that we have to discuss. I mean, some of them need board approval. I mean, they all will eventually need board approval, but some of them have already happened.
What's your most immediate items?
The roof one is probably one of the most immediate ones that general contractor needs a decision on. I did talk to Mr. Harley before he left on Friday. We had been going back and forth between what roofing type that we were going to install in the building. We had been talking about a Duralast roof compared to the Firestone TPO system that the contractor actually included in his bid. This is the change order to an additional $81,000 to take it up to a Duralast roof versus the Firestone. Mr. Harley's opinion, and I'm not going to quote him word for word, would be to, the Duralast would be nice because we have those on Ben Franklin. We have it on, we now have it on East Pike. We also have it at the high school. But he doesn't feel that the $81,000 is worth the upcharge for it. The Firestone is still a good roof. We are getting R36 insulation on it. In order to keep the project moving, he doesn't recommend approving
Tom,
What's
does-
the warranty on the Firestone?
still 20 years,
20.
the same as what the Duralast. If you're getting the same warranty, we actually through the process, and I think it was of the understanding 2 years ago or 10 years ago when they put on the Duralast roof, we still have the old rubber membrane from the original ballast roof on there. So right now there's actually two roofs. Part of the quote is that J.C. Orr will be tearing both of those off, putting new insulation on there, and then applying the Firestone on top of that.
So you're saying that this comes up for motion at the next meeting?
It doesn't need to if the committee, unless the committee is going to recommend
If
moving
we say
forward.
stick with what they quoted in their bid when they got the contract, then they just proceed how they already had planned.
And
Yeah.
that's with the Firestone.
That's what the Firestone.
And Tom recommended, if I'm getting this correct, Tom recommended we don't go with the Duralast.
I
Because
mean,
he
his
was
preference
hot
would
to
be
trot
to
on the
go that, but
Duralast.
it's not worth the additional 80,000.
All right. I didn't ask you any questions. You get one. We'll go around for all the questions.
My only question would we have any preference other than this? Any objection to that?
It's just as good a quality as a roof as Duralast. In talking to other roofers, and the guy that we use to service our roofs currently, typically can work with this roof if need be. But it will be under warranty for some time, so that won't be an issue for quite some time.
Larry, any objections?
I have no objections.
And Aaron, you okay with the
I'm great.
I say Firestone.
Firestone? Terry? Jerry?
My only question was, I thought one time we were talking with Tom, he thought that maybe this 81,000, that we could reduce that some. Like, he was thinking he was gonna take all the insulation off, and I didn't think that we had with the discussion with Tom.
That's not J.C. Orr's opinion, so that's,
Yeah.
they're quoting
that's
this as,
Flying the ointment here is, that was part of an ESCO project when that Eisenhower roof was put on there. So we think that the insulation that we think is there or was told was there is there.
It's there.
And so J.C. Orr, though, is wanting to take all that insulation off, and we don't think it's necessary.
It's of different sizes. I mean, Larry.
Well, you have 2 roofs on there now. If you put a 3rd roof over top of that, you're getting into you're gonna need a structural engineer sign off. on it,
Right,
'cause
but
you got-
can't you just take the membrane off and leave the insulation? Which is what they did here, right? They just added on to what was up here.
I believe did they take the rubber membrane off here?
They took the membrane off and they added the 3 inches.
Yeah.
of insulation.
As a roofing guy, if it's dry, you can reuse it.
Yeah.
Yeah, building code says you cannot cover up wet insulation. So if they were to take that roof membrane off and it's dry, you can reuse it.
Right. So I hate to, yeah,
A lot of times you can take the rubber
The membrane.
membrane can come off. It depends how it's down. If it's
Right.
mechanically attached, you can do it. If it's ballasted, you can do it. But if it's fully adhered, what happens is when you peel the rubber, you're gonna peel the facer off of the insulation.
right.
That's what we have.
Do we know how
That's
that
what
was
we have.
on?
That's
I-
it's here.
It's
I hate to
weird.
throw this in there, but
It's
it was
adhered.
it's
No, I figured.
information.
No, you have the history and you have altered this, but because I've, go ahead.
Wasn't there some concern about the insulation under the original older roof, that there may be some degradation of that and there might be some issues there?
I think they took some samples of, like, cut some holes to know exactly what was there, and some of the stuff that was original. I mean, it may not absolutely have been original to the building, but the first layer of insulation was starting to crumble.
So our opinion
They took
is,
5 samples across the building, and my understanding that's was the condition
Well,
of what.
If we go with the Firestone roof, though, that change of installation's already in their original
Mhm.
quote,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So that's not a change.
This
order.
doesn't-
So,
yeah.
So that's,
so, it doesn't even come up for.
yeah, if it's crumbling.
Okay, Walter, you okay with that?
I guess I'm with Tom. My preference would be certainly to do the Duralast. However, the upcharge, I think, is over and above. And because of the cost factor, I think we should stay with the Firestone. Okay.
Can we ask, do you guys have any comment on either the TPO or the Duralast?
Duralast is a PVC roof. They're probably both 60 mils. The Duralast has a reinforcement in it. The TPO has a reinforcement in it. They're both heat welded. The Duralast roof might be, it's hard to say. I mean, the Firestone details are gonna be better than the Duralast details, like around your perimeters and around your units. They're gonna be better.
Which is important.
Yeah.
That's an important.
Yeah. Personally, I think, I've been in the business for 27 years. I would take the Firestone roof, the Firestone TPO over the Duralast.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, I'm glad Tom's not here.
You know that, right?
There you go. There's the answer.
Okay, next, Jared, please.
So,
The next couple, I mean, I don't believe are very controversial. There is, the next one for $8,900 is for some additional framing in the classrooms where we thought there was a cement base, but there is not. So they need to do some framing to put in the lockers.
Next one.
That's $8,900. That'll be on the next agenda. The next big one is $33,000 for over excavation under Area D, which is the 2 classroom additions on the south wing. That is just an unforeseen circumstance as they were digging to try and, as Larry said, Earth Tech was there testing the soil the whole way through,
To get bearing, so you have a good foundation.
and they wouldn't approve anything until a certain point, and this is work outside of the contract for over excavation.
Oh, that's important.
well, we don't have a choice on this one, right?
And Larry and I, we knew about it, and we told them to keep going, so we weren't waiting for
Right.
2 or 3 weeks.
You were, hold on.
When you say they could, excuse me, they couldn't get bearing, could you just
When you set your foundation, you have to have a good bearing. It has to be
hard?
they test it, so it isn't setting on soil that can shift or compact. And you gotta have a good bearing for it to settle. and it has to meet certain standards. Otherwise, that footer could shear and give you all, you don't want that. It's all bad.
You were gonna ask something or have another comment? I interrupted you.
Oh, that's all right. I did neglect to tell you something. We have a little bit of asbestos that I have to have removed in the southwest corner of the crawl space. Remember we decided to leave the insulation there? There's about 20 feet of insulation we gotta have removed because there's some ventilation that has to go in there.
It was on the pipe that we decided to leave there, not
Yeah.
the,
It was on the
we'd be up against.
At the perimeter of the building, there's some existing pipe. And all it is the tar that's on the insulation. We have to have it removed because there's some ductwork that has to go in there for humidity. And also there's a door going out into area D west. There's a man door there. So they gotta get through there. So we have to remove the pipe. They've already cut the door in around it. So we have to remove the pipe to get access to be able to walk through there. So the pipe's gonna need to have some insulation removed.
These are relatively low cost and will appear at a different time on our schedule.
Yes, I'm just giving you a heads up.
So, it's not on this list.
No,
This was-
no, I should have reported that earlier when I was
Yep, we
talking.
reached out to AGX, who has done the other
Yeah.
abatement, and they may have already been there, or they're coming to take a look at it and
They're
take care of
supposed
it.
to be here today or tomorrow. They
Yeah.
weren't there today.
And the $33,000 is, we have the proper bearing, the 1,060, what's that for?
That's as well, it's just a different area of the building that needed some over excavation, so that's 1,060 for that one. And then we have a $6,200 one to add ball valves and a floor drain to room 16 and change a sink in room B12. So just some plumbing. I don't know if you have any additional information on that, Larry.
Now, this,
K&K one.
Questions?
the K&K, this one here, what number is this? Oh, these are for the cold water valves.
Mhm.
Oh, this is so you could, this is for the isolation, so you don't have to shut the whole school down to work in a certain area. Like you can isolate at the kitchen area or maybe the south part of like D south. So you don't have to, like if you have a valve that's leaking and you need to do some maintenance on a sink, like a stop valve or something, or like you need administrative area, we can shut a valve off to stop all your cold water going into the administrative area if you got a bad valve. Meanwhile, you can still keep the school functioning. It would be, I'm not expecting it to be a big, at first you won't need it. As the school ages, that's when you're gonna need it, to be able to isolate certain areas for maintenance.
Makes sense to me. So to get the procedure, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 will be on promotions.
Yes. Yep, they'll be on the next next Monday's board agenda for approval.
Okay, so the committee agrees, I believe. Yes, no, maybe.
With the only addendum to remove the Duralast roof from the,
Yep, that one won't even be on there, the first one, number 1 there.
well, it's
Change.
on the summary one to
Yep.
remove it.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yep, the board's not gonna approve it, I will remove it from there.
Any other comments by anybody? Okay, thank you. Appreciate it, Larry, again, so on the stick of Kurt and Cheney and your department. Horseman reporting, repurposing discussion. Potential district versus other uses.
So we just had a presentation during outreach committee by Jackie Catrobone from Strategy Solutions. They are recommending we have an open house on April 2nd, which the outreach committee approves. We're going to move forward with that. We're going to advertise that far and wide here starting tomorrow and invite academic partners, business partners, people that might be interested in leasing, buying, et cetera, developing the building to come on April 2nd and tour the building. So that's number one. We've had interest from quite a few different groups already. We've been contacted by Marikey, which is an academic partner that provides services to students with special needs. Been contacted by the ICTC about possibly borrowing some space from us there. I have a conversation with Aaron IU about possible partnerships there. So we have a few academic partners that have already expressed interest. We've also had some community agencies that have expressed interest and possibly looking at the space, and some realtors that are always interested, and even a
Senior housing.
senior housing development company that is always interested in looking at developing old schools. So we, the good news is we have a lot of interested parties already, and we haven't even really marketed the space yet. So
Oh, it's a beautiful building. I'm not surprised.
absolutely. So I don't know that there's a whole lot more to discuss than that. Jackie, if there's
Jackie?
anything you want to add?
Yeah, I think the only thing was just for this committee to think about, are there potential implications if you sell the building, or if you keep it for academic purposes, or if you lease or rent it? Like, are there things that need to be considered with any of those options based on what you know about the building today, right? If you were going to sell it, do you anticipate needing to make any investment in that building just to make it,
Well, I think we
attractive?
have to
Again,
keep-
we've got interest, but right, we just want to kind of start to put out there right now, are there considerations for the building as you look at those possible sort of buckets of options?
Well, I think we have to keep it well and tidied up so it looks nice. There's nothing more important. We should paint the door.
Well,
The door?
the biggest problem with that building's always been its ADA compliance. It's not. And
Right.
it's, whether we keep it or sell it,
It's not ADA compliant with today's standards, but it's ADA compliant with
okay,
when it was last modified. and
without
renovated.
parsing hairs, if
Right.
we're going to keep this building, realistically, you got a kid with crutches,
Right.
you're dooming that kid to misery. So
Mhm.
whether that's, any of these outside academic areas, and, if you're looking to sell it for a senior living
Mhm.
development partner, they're gonna look at that too. You got
absolutely.
people with walkers trying to struggle up those cement stairs. It's not gonna happen. So that might be something that, whether it's we do to make the building more attractive or we make it more functional. The elevator's always been an issue. The entrances have always been an issue. So it's something we should probably consider, or at least keep on our radar.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Erin, do you have any, want to add to that list?
No, just, I know there's still some of the original electrical system too, isn't there?
From the plant operation standpoint, is there any ticking time bombs, like boiler ready to go in a year, or?
Boiler's good.
Yeah, the 2 of the 3 boilers in there are 12 years old.
Boilers.
That was done at the last ESCO project. There's still one remaining old boiler that hasn't been used in many, many years. Doesn't need to be used. It has its issues, its maintenance issues, but all in all, it's a solid building.
Okay.
It's just the age.
Cheney, didn't we, or Jared as well, we did a whole list at one point of whatever, at that time, of what things would needed to be done and what it would cost.
What I can do tomorrow, and I think it'll be good for Jackie to see too, is back in 2009, we had architectural innovation do a full
Mhm.
2019. Yeah. What did I say, 2009?
You said 9.
2019, I'm sorry. I had 19 in my head. Do a complete feasibility study of all of our buildings, and they did a pretty extensive review of all those kind of mechanical systems, brickwork, roofs, all that kind of stuff, and actually apply prices to it. Now, those prices probably aren't valid in today's standards, but it does give you an idea of at least what the building at that time needed, and we really haven't done anything to the building since then. So,
Well, can you get that out to the committee and to Jackie and to everybody?
yep,
here?
I will send that. I was trying to look for it. I know.
It's on the webpage, on the.
Do a little, so if you added in today's inflation, what is about 3.5%? If you added that on the prices, it would give us some idea.
That's exactly what we presented at the Act 780 hearing. That's the information we used to create the presentation at the hearing a couple of weeks ago. So
Okay, any questions?
we can maybe send
comments?
both that.
And I'll send you a link to the webpage. It has all that stuff on
Oh,
it.
perfect.
So,
It's on the website?
It's on the website, the whole 780 presentation, the viability
Oh,
study,
yes.
everything.
You did, you said it that night as well. Is there any possibility, Jim, about you and he going on the radio for a public announcement about the open house, or is that overkill?
Yeah, well, that is my next radio spot, is April 2nd.
That's there.
Oh,
So,
that's good.
So that day will be.
Reminder to come to.
Yeah.
Well, we can reach out and ask.
So we have student of the month coming up.
Wait,
I have a, senior high school has a radio spot on Thursday at 8:45, squeeze you in.
Special guest.
Tuesday,
Offering it.
Yeah,
The student of the month and.
Yeah, Tuesday the 27th,
Sure,
we're doing
outreach.
student of the month, so you could,
So
why don't we just do it as a reminder? Go ahead.
So if you're, and I'm fine with going on, sharing the time with Wade or whoever. But I think that this also, in conjunction with that, or as a part of that, the formal press release.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
to the radio station, to the newspaper, as well as to the social media, that, oh, by the way, April the 2nd, come one, come all.
Yeah, but that's already in the plan. We're gonna blast that out tomorrow afternoon.
But my point is that if you're gonna go on the radio, then those two ought to be kind of coordinated. And even if you put that in there, then you should maybe say something about you'll be on the radio. There should be some tie-in that these are the same thing and not two different.
Sure.
Jackie, around here, radio is still big. AM and FM. Okay, any questions about this segment of the agenda? Any further comments? Hearing none, we'll go to junior high presentation and discussion.
Yeah, we have certainly done a lot of work here at the district on the roofs of our buildings over the past couple of years, especially during the ESCO project. But one of the roofs that did not receive any work during that time was the junior high, and that was because a couple of years prior to that, the junior high received a renovation back in 2004, 2005. But we are nearing 20 years from that renovation. The warranty on the roof at that time has now is over. It was a 15-year warranty on that roof, so it is long past, a couple years past its warranty. So we have been talking to Tremco about the current condition of the roof, which they have spent some time looking into, but as well as what are our options for replacement, for extending the life of it. And they're here to present some options and talk to the committee about that. One of the things that we are looking at, and one of the main reasons, a big reason why we're bringing them in, is there has recently been some grant opportunities out there through the Department of Community and Economic Development that we are possibly looking at. They're really facility upgrades, and one of the big things is roof replacements. So what we'd like to try and do is work with Tremco to put in a grant application to hopefully get at least some money for the junior high roof replacement, repair, or extension of its life, whatever, hopefully we can look at doing. So
A couple of quick
So-
housekeeping points. Chair,
So just real quick, are you guys roofing contractors to do the job, or are you, consulting engineers to set up the program and do the design work?
We're a material manufacturer. Our company manufactures roofing materials.
Okay.
And what we do is we work with school districts and kind of put together a game plan to do an assessment. In other words, take kind of a snapshot of where those roof sections are in their life cycle, and then put together a game plan to look to extend the lives of those roofs.
Okay,
extend.
thank you.
Yeah.
I like
Restore,
that word. I
right.
like extend.
I have a presentation, a PowerPoint.
I have a couple of, just a second.
is it the
please.
same one that you guys sent?
Sorta.
Similar.
Yeah.
This, correct me if I'm wrong, is this a number one on the list?
I think everything's number one currently.
That's the problem. Yes, but that's the problem. There's only so many big projects like this we can take.
Junior
on.
high roof is currently a 3.
Okay, so we're expediting this? No.
It's not one of the main reasons why we brought it to you is if there's grant funding to pay for it.
Good thing.
3 makes it a 1.
We could do it now.
Yeah,
Because you get much past, I think, the condition that it is in now, extending the life of it won't be a possibility. it'll be a full replacement at that point.
It's
Yeah,
leaking.
that's,
It has, it's
Is it
leaking in
leaking?
places, yes.
that's the discussion right now. We've done a visual inspection, we've done a core analysis, we've done an infrared scan of the roof to kind of look at the condition of the insulation. And the roof right now is definitely a restoration candidate. Even though it's aged out, a lot of the stuff we're seeing on the roof, on the seams and at the perimeters and things like that are pretty consistent with the age of the roof. But we still feel there's an opportunity to restore the roof and extend the life of the existing roof. What we, real quickly, what we do is we do the diagnostics up front, we do the due diligence, and then we're able to install a fluid applied roofing system over top of the existing rubber. And what that does is that seals up the rubber, the black roofing, and it will extend the life of the roof. And because we do the upfront work, the visual inspection, the core analysis, the infrared scan, we're able to offer long-term warranties along with those restorations. So our analysis, what we found is, I'm sorry.
This fluid product that you use, what is it?
it's a aliphatic urethane. It's called AlphaGuard, and it's a thick, like urethane that's, yeah. Here's a sample of it. So what it is once we've done the due diligence, we clean the roof. If there's any minor repairs, we do the minor repairs in the field of the roof. There's a primer that goes down. There's a base coat. There's a ply that goes in the base coat. And then there's a top coat, a white top coat. And that goes over the entire black rubber roof on the whole facility.
And you said it's a urea?
Urethane.
Urethane.
It's an aliphatic urethane, yeah.
Would it be considered a polyurethane?
Yes, in a sense.
And is this a two-part or a single part?
It's two parts. There's a base coat.
No,
Oh, no,
As far as a mix,
single part.
yes.
so as a material manufacturer, we make all sorts of different materials, right? Roofing materials. In this system line, there are different options where there are two parts where essentially, for example, we have this exact product, but it's a bio-based form where we use it in very sensitive environments such as like hospitals, senior care facilities, places like that where you're super sensitive to smells and things like that, where you actually mix it like in 5-gallon buckets and then put it down. This specific material is not. It comes in 5-gallon buckets ready to go.
It doesn't have to be mixed. The system that we're
Okay, so
looking at.
it isn't mixed in the sprayer when it's applied.
That's not, yeah, it would be roller applied, actually. It's not sprayed, it's roller. It goes down at 48 mils
May we
each.
see that?
Yeah, you can pass
Yeah,
it
pass it
around.
around.
The base sheet and the base coat and the top coat each go down at 48 mils thick. Your existing roof is 60 mils thick. That's the thickness of the rubber that's on the roof right now. We're gonna add almost 100 mils on top of that. The other thing we do with our fluid applied system is all the field seams, everywhere that the roof is overlaid, where there's patches and things like that and seams and all that stuff is covered, so you've got a monolithic surface across the entire roof.
Follow up, Walter?
What's the, how many years do you figure to extend the life?
It'll come with a 30-year warranty when it's
This
installed.
does.
This does, yeah. Again, because we've done the upfront work that says the roof is a valid restoration candidate. The good thing about this is you're not tearing, you've got, on that roof, you have an average R of about 38 across all the roof levels. You're well above the requirement, and you're also well above the point of no return where, you've maxed out your energy efficiency. Typically an R around 17, 18, you're maxing out your energy efficiency. You guys are well above that. The infrared scan shows there's very little wet insulation in the roof. That would come out, we would repair those patches with the black rubber, and then the whole thing would be coated. There's one little section over the canopy,
you want to pull it up?
Yeah, I don't know,
Can we
that's
pull-
what I
or
mean.
Jared, if you have it, at least some of those images, I don't know if it's that easy for you to pull up.
Did you send them to me?
Yeah, I think, I was looking, looks like some folks have the,
The entire
in the package?
presentation that you sent me is
Yeah.
attached here.
okay. I mean, we can just do that real quick if you guys want to look at it.
Yeah.
I'll just kind of do one like this, and I think you guys all have it, correct?
Yep.
So that first page, obviously, just an aerial overview. The second one talks about the infrared scan and kind of what that process looks like. So we were actually fortunate enough, early in the month when we had those couple 70+ degree days to be able to come out and conduct the infrared scan. So kind of what that process is after a good warm sunny day, when you get a good UV index load on the black rubber roof, any areas where there is a compromised area, so a little bit of water can get underneath that black rubber roof. The underlying insulation will hold moisture, and then subsequently, when we come out at night to do the infrared scan, as the majority of the roof cools off in a hurry, those areas that are underlying and wet will hold the heat of the day. So when you go to the, I don't think it's necessarily the next page. The next page is the result. The red areas are the areas that we found where there was underlying wet insulation. And then the next page, you can actually see the thermal images. So you're kind of seeing, if anybody recalls the movie Predator, the way he hunts on like the thermal sink, right? The red and orange is kind of hot, is like a human. And then the blue, purple is cold. So again, when you come out sort of right at dusk or dark, the daylight images, we came back the next day to do our secondary verification. So what that means is in those areas, we come back and actually do a core cut to verify that what we're seeing on the camera is in fact wet. So those are the daytime images that correlate to those thermal images. But if we go back one page to where those red blobs are on the CAD drawing, that was essentially the result. So I think you guys all have the letter format thing sort of at the end of your packets. It talks about all this stuff sort of in like, we're looking at this, but I'm just kind of talking. But essentially what you have, less than 1% of the entire roof surface is dry. So everything there as far as the underlying insulation tells us that this roof is still performing. Okay, so
Say that again.
Less
He
than
said it
1%
backwards.
is wet, the other way around.
I'm sorry, yeah, so you have less, I'm sorry, 99% dry. When you do the math on the 444 square foot, it's like 0.006% wet. So less than 1% wet. I apologize if I said that backwards. But I'm glad you
Yeah, kind of.
So that tells us again that this roof is performing still. Like Jared kind of opened up with, the roof was put on in 2005. It was 2005. It was a 15-year warranty, so it came out in August 2020 is when the warranty expired. So at this point, it's coming on about 4 years out of warranty. The good thing is, again, it's still performing. So in our world, as a material manufacturer, we come out and say, well, what's the right solution? Well, last thing you really want to do is tear this thing off because you're throwing it in a landfill for no reason, right? It's still performing. Leads us down this road of, hey, can we restore, preserve, and prolong the life of this roof? Bruce kind of talked about it a little bit where you don't just come out and slap some paint on there. It's a process, right? So the first part of the process is to do that diagnostic scan. Can't cover up wet insulation. So these areas ultimately all get cut out. Now, if you look at where it says number 5, and it's on roof section L, it's a little wee pit kind of roof.
Just a canopy roof to an entrance.
Yeah,
And
just,
that little section is bad, so that would be a complete replacement.
yeah.
But, you know, the square footage is pretty minimal.
Yeah, it's not advantageous to try to spot tear that out because it's very wet, and then just outside of where it's very wet, you can tell it's still damp. So more or less the whole thing's, it needs to go. The rest of the roof, though, we will just look at that little bit of spot replacement. So you cut out the wet, you infill with a light insulation, whatever's there, put back in new black rubber to patch it in. Like Bruce said, you upgrade any failing or existing details. So anywhere that roof showing its age of 20 years looks like it needs touched up, you get it up to its highest performing standard, and then you do the restoration system.
I don't know if you'll know the answer to this, but that area 5 on the real life pictures, it shows that there's a drain right there. Is that drain not functioning? Is that
So
what happened?
that has nothing, so yes, so there is a drain there. Picture 5, so that was actually that roof L that I was talking about.
Yeah.
This was the little sort of canopy roof.
Right.
that drain is still fully functional. If you look in the picture down below and sort of look in the right-hand side, there's big metal louvers in there. And actually being out with Rob on second shift to do the scan, he had said at some point within the past few years, they had possibly changed out the screen. I guess there's a metal screen in there. Again, I'm not an HVAC guy, I don't know. But we have some images. I know I showed with Jared and David a while back in Cheney, where on that roof, there's a bunch of little metal shavings. They're everywhere.
Okay.
So what happens then, somebody gets up there to service, change a belt, do something on a unit, and they're stepping them all into the rubber. Unfortunately, rubber roof is most prone to punctures. It's not very resistant to punctures. So that's kind of what I think happened there. You got a bunch of these little metal shavings on there. They all got stepped in the roof, and now ask the guys. That's the one area that is an issue on the building. It leaks constantly, pretty much every time it rains. But no, the drain is fine.
Okay.
The drain's still working. It's just showing that all that insulation around it's wet. The yellow one. So yellow in our world means restoration. So that means this roof is good to be restored. That red section, that was the one that we were just talking about again. That one needs replaced. We can't save that roof. Again, us at the end of the day, we're the manufacturer. We hold the long-term liability. We wouldn't hold it on a restoration on this roof, right? The answer there is a new insulation, new membrane, but we would propose you match the warranty. So it'd be a 30-year. I know you guys were talking roofs earlier. Sounded like 20-year roof options. Again, there are other options, which again, we would propose a 30, which would make all those warranties line up.
We have the ability to do a 30 on this roof based on the infrared scan, the core cuts, the amount of insulation that's on the roof. So we can offer a 30. Really, the only difference between a 20-year warranty for us and a 30-year warranty is the white top coat goes down a bit thicker. Instead of 32 mils, we put it down at 48 mils. And that equates to that extra time to have the 30-year warranty.
So you'd replace that on your yellow sheet, you'd replace that one little small,
Yeah,
okay. And then after you replaced it with the rubber roof, would you then spray yours over top of that?
roll
roof?
right over top, yeah. We would, yeah.
You'd roll it right over top of the new
No,
roof?
something that's small.
This was a key sheet. He's saying that's replacement.
Yeah, the answer is, it would be covered under it would be under the same warranty. The easiest thing to do there would be,
Yeah,
like
there are
you just said,
options. Yeah.
just put the rubber down and then put the our restorative over top. So it's all the same.
How long
That's
does it take to do this?
The size of the school, it's probably 8 to 10 weeks, give or take.
The good, definitely something to note when it comes to these restoration systems that makes them kind of in a league of their own. Because they are low VOC, you can do it while kids and faculty are in the building. Certainly probably still not preferred, but we've done it plenty. And I mean, we kind of say oversell and under-deliver. So VOCs of about paint. So if somebody's painting a room, that would be about the smell. Typically, once it's already above the roof surface, it's not really getting in the building unless it's a return or something, which would be coordinated, with these gentlemen if they were going to be in that area that day.
You can't do it in the winter though, can you?
So, yeah, you need to be 40 ambient and rising. So
It's a summer project,
Yeah,
spring, summer project.
yeah, you're beyond just summer, like in that crazy when school's out, you have to get it done. You can certainly start in the spring and go into the fall.
So this new process would last 30 years. The end of 30 years, do you do it all over again?
You wouldn't have to do the whole thing over again. All you'd have to do is you would clean the roof again and then just put the top coat back down. Because you've already encapsulated the rubber roof, you've added the base coat, you added another reinforcement ply inside the gray. So really, at the end of the 30 years, you would come back and just redo top coat again. You wouldn't have to go all the way down to the rubber. Go ahead.
I'll
I'm
be
sorry.
sitting in that chair and.
I won't be here now.
Do you reanalyze that after 30 years to?
Yeah, you can, yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things with the warranty is, within the context of the warranty, roof maintenance and housekeeping is included. So our guys, our Tremco guys will come out year 2, 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25. And they'll clean the drains, they'll do all the required rooftop maintenance, and that's automatically included with the warranty. You also have a cloud-based roof database system that these warranty inspections are automatically set. You don't have to do anything. If there is a leak, there's an 800 number you call, and then everything is just run right through the online database. And that's included that's included in the warranty, those inspections. And then you'll receive a report, going over everything that they did when they came out for the year 2, 5, 10 report.
Questions?
What's the oldest roof that you have this product on?
We've actually, there's a couple of them. They're in the 15 to 18 year range, because we had this material has progressed over time. When we first started doing these back in the late 1990s, early 2000s, we were doing 10-year warranties, and we've kind of grown since then to where we're at that point where we're standard 20 or 30 with the additional flood code. And I always, especially in the school district, with the way plan cons and things like that, we want to go as long-term as we can. We've got several 30-year roofs down in a bunch of different school districts that we can give you recommendations, but we've been doing the restorations, this type of restoration, since about 2000, 2001.
And two more questions, Julie. One is the fine print of the warranty. People hear warranty and they think, oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, you're right. Now,
And
with our warranty, everything is covered because we've done the upfront work that says the roof is a restoration candidate. And the other thing too, you have, your parapet walls and where your units are that come through the roof, all of that rubber is covered as well. So everywhere you see black on the roof is going to be coated and hence covered under the warranty.
so then my last question.
Go ahead.
Do you guys do the TPO and the door last? Tell us why we should do this instead of a whole new roof, and I'd like to hear the cost of.
Well, number one, you have enough insulation on the roof. Number two, the insulation is dry. So there's really no reason to peel the roof off. If you peel the roof off, you're gonna have to add another layer of insulation, and you're gonna have to somehow attach that to you've got concrete deck and metal deck. So you're gonna have to attach that and then put a roof down on top of that. The other thing is, you're tearing off, there's always a chance you can expose the building to moisture if you get a rainstorm or something like that. The fact that you're taking stuff off and you gotta take it to a landfill, there's a lot of reasons why. You've got a decent roof there now. Now, will you always have the opportunity? No, because as that roof ages out, it's going to present more leak issues. And roofs, it's hard to say when the roof's really, really gonna go bad, but you have an opportunity now. So the advantages are the ease of installation. It's a very low odor system. So, like Justin said, we've started a lot of projects in the early spring, and then we finished a lot of projects in the fall. I can give you an example. Penns Manor. When we started that project in April. We did their high school. This is a few years ago. And they gave us a list of blackout days where they said, okay, the guys cannot work on these days because of whatever they were doing in the building. Well, the facility guy there, Mark Dalton, he said, we've gone through a couple weeks. We've gone through a couple blackout days. We have had no issues. Nobody's complained, no teachers or anything like that. I'm going to let the guys work through the rest of the blackout days. And, the project went off without a hitch. So those are some of the advantages of having it. You're going to end up with a seamless monolithic roof system as opposed to seams.
Well,
Yeah. And the welded seams are good, but there's a lot of patching and things like that go on a welded seam roof. The other thing too, the TPO, it's a good material, but it's pretty stiff. The Duralast, again, it's okay, the details aren't that great, and it is a little bit stiff material. This chemically bonds to the rubber that's already there. And you have the opportunity at the end of the warranty period to just kind of recoat it.
You're not adjusting drains, you're not adjusting curb
Exactly.
boxes.
Yeah, when you take that existing roof off, you now have to hit minimum R30, which means at the drains. And in a lot of cases, there's a tapered insulation layout. So at the drain, if you're 5 1/4 inches, you could be 12, 13 inches by the time you hit the parapet wall, right at 1/4 inch per foot or whatever your taper design is. So yes, you're right. When you take it off, it now may require an additional crane lift to pick units up, to build curbs up and things like that. This option doesn't require any of that.
The other thing we're doing too is where the pool roof is, there's an area where there's a lot of insulation that's kind of bubbled up on the pool roof. We think there's water getting behind the brick and running down through there, and that's what's causing that. So we're going to put what they call a reglet mount flashing detail there, where we're gonna replace that bad insulation, put new rubber down, and then, yeah, there's a vapor barrier under there that goes on the deck, and then what we do is we kind of cut a line in the mortar joints on the wall, and we install a metal counter flashing in there, so that when the water comes down the wall, it wicks out, hits the roof, and goes down the drain. Right now, there's just what they call a surface mount counter flashing. The water can run down, it gets behind there, and I think that's what's causing that bubbling in the insulation. So that's something we would address as well too.
So a cost comparison between this and a 20-year,
Probably, 30% less, 35, 40% less.
this is your product.
Yeah. That's kind of what we're seeing out there.
And I think I chuckled at first when you said Duralast, but we were talking and you guys were talking roofs, and I said, watch, they're gonna say, well, what do you guys roofs and.
Well, you're the expert.
So, yeah, that was kind of
I
my.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
So tell us about this application for potential funding to support this.
So what we know is there's funds available from the state. What it is it's a facility grant that you can use for, any type of facility work. My understanding is there's 75% provided by the state, 25% has to be, approved at the school district. So a project like this, what you have to do is you have to have 3 separate quotes or bids, which we can help you get 3 separate quotes for this project. Then you have to get board approval to submit for the grant application. Then you put the grant application in. The applications are due by the end of May, I believe, Jared, is that right? I think that's right. And then,
There's together, 2 came out pretty much at the exact same
yeah,
time.
it's
So
the
there's
Act
one.
34 one.
There's one that is kind of environmental hazard, which is focused more on asbestos and lead and that type of stuff. The one through DCD is, it opened March 1st and it closes May 31st.
Yeah, that's the grant. So that grant, the state gives you 75%, the district, pays 25%. The grant's application is due the end of May. They're supposed to award in September.
I think it just kind of coattail, they say up to a 75% match, correct? So the district, if they match you at 75%, the district would have to contribute 25% of the cost to get that, but they may only award you 10%. Like I don't, isn't that correct? It's up to a 75%.
Yeah, it's up to
match.
75%.
Yeah, so I don't think it's guaranteed.
And what's the criteria on determining whether it's 10% or 75%, Jared? Do
The
you know?
state does that.
I would imagine that is dependent on how many they get and probably the need of the roof replacement, stuff like that.
They allotted how much? I read about it in the paper.
100,
Was it 500?
No, I think it's,
Was it 500?
I don't think it's, I don't know, I forget. I thought it was 100.
Well,
No, that sounds more like.
if your estimate of 1.5 or 1.6 million at 75%, that would be 1.1 to 1.2 million that we would get from the state, and then the balance of it.
Right.
we'd be responsible for. So it's about $500,000.
Would this work with ESCO?
The process can work with ESCO too. We can work with your ESCO to put together, roofs, when you do an ESCO project, the roof is kind of the sticking point because the energy savings in a roof is not nearly as good as lighting or working with your boilers or things like that. So this is a great option because it comes in much less expensive than replacing a roof. It has a long-term warranty. You end up with a white surface. And those are things that do help when you put together ESCO projects.
How much, if we were going to replace this roof altogether, what kind of a number would we be looking at?
You'd probably be over like 2.2, 2.4 maybe, in that range. That's, rough guesstimate.
I also chair the finance committee, and I don't.
What I would like to do on Monday is to get that board approval to submit this as through the grant opportunity so that we can work on getting the three quotes, everything required to get it in there by the end of May. Again, we know how the state government sometimes works. Hopefully approval will come in September, or at least an answer come in September.
Right.
So we're not looking at doing something probably till the fall or the spring of
That's a question. So let's say
2025.
we get approval in September, like what is the lead time to, like if we say, yes, go do it?
Well, yeah, if you get approval in September, we'll be ready to go early spring,
Okay.
easily, yeah. And I don't think the roof will be worse for wear, one more winter, so I think you'll be okay there. And we'll monitor it too.
And we don't,
Yeah, we did, actually, after the scan, we made repairs to anything that we could find in those areas. So right now, you are pretty much as watertight as you're gonna get on that roof.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, any
if
other
you
questions?
submit the application and they come back 10%, we don't have to do that.
No, I would double check that, but I've not read anything that says by submitting a grant you are.
We'll give that money right back.
So as long as we're taking the next step in the process, but not committing beyond that, then it may be worth looking into then.
Yep, and I'll reach out to verify that, but I have not read anything that is committing us to the project by submitting the grant.
We talking like phased? Okay. I guess just another thing to note, like this isn't an all or nothing sort of option. Like we work with a lot of folks across an entire district where they have 3 or 4 or 5 campuses and 20 or 30 roof sections on each building. We're actually work at setting up like a phased plan for something like this where, if you don't have 1.5, but you have 300,000 that you can put at it, we would work to determine which section would be the highest need and start there.
You can
sort of
break the
thing,
roof
right?
up.
So you can phase a plan
Yeah.
and to kind of do.
We do that with a lot of districts where we take a building this
So if
size.
they
and
give us 10%, then we could do
Yeah, you could still do something.
the worst 10% of the roof section.
Yeah.
And Justin and I have really kind of been talking about how we'd like to tweak the grant so that we can say, look, we have options. Also highlight how it is a kind of an environmentally friendly project because we're not throwing we're reusing what's there, we're extending it out. I mean, to me, they can look at it as like, well, the district's investing in the next 30 years. Like this money isn't just for a project that could last 10 years. We're really gonna extend the life of the roof for another 30 years.
It'll be competitive, I think, on this grant.
I'm sure. I mean, I'm talking to everybody's submitting something through it. So
Well, is it okay with the committee? We'd have to check with Tom to see what he thinks as well, but are we okay with,
Well, I think as long as
Having
there's
the
no
approval for a
commitment,
grant.
that's.
I mean, I have no objection. But I do want it on the next audit and finance committee agenda as well, so that we can figure out different scenarios of where we would.
I think if it's just giving the application, Julia, I think that's something
No, I don't mind that, but
I think
still.
we have to do that.
And then if you get the grant, you
She's
get
worried about the
everything you want, then what?
391,000 potentially that she's gonna come up
It's
with.
in 25.
Yeah, what will even be around? Okay.
Is this the best project for this application, for this program? Or is there something else that we should also be
If
considering?
we ask Jared, they all need to be
It's a good
replaced.
question, Jared.
I mean, this is the only roof that hasn't been replaced. That is.
But is there,
Well,
what all is under this program? Lighting, is the, under ESCO, is there?
So this DCED money that you're talking about, this 100 million or whatever the total was, I think what he's asking, Jared, is there anything else on our capital projects list that would fit that same, the criteria for that grant? No, not necessarily another roof, but whatever, something else.
No, I mean, it's roof repairs, it's heating and ventilation, boiler and controls, plumbing systems, energy saving projects, health and safety upgrades, internet connectivity, demolition, window repairs, window
We're
replacement.
not gonna start. We'll never do.
To me, it is the only project that is, I mean, certainly Eisenhower is not eligible for it. You cannot have contracts signed for it. It is the only project to me that we can have 3 good quotes within a month and a half and actually get it in by May, something that without having architectural studies and getting that type of stuff done. I mean, there's certainly other work that needs done. I mean, Ben Franklin needs work, but realistically, do we have a project to actually submit to them at that
Well,
point?
it's kind of fortunate timing too, because how long before we can't do this coating and we have to replace the roof?
Yeah.
Do you have an answer to that? Like, is it, I know you don't have a crystal ball, but it's.
A roof, a lot of times with a roof like this, we could do a 3 or 4 year plan. I think you could do that, like if the grant money didn't come through, we could phase that out over 3 or 4 years, if we're kind of maintaining it as we go. So, yeah, I think we could.
To us, it just seemed like it's a project, like the junior high is not going anywhere.
It's in good condition,
It's in
it's
good-
just all redone and the
Yes.
roof's leaking, was leaking.
Well, yeah,
You had some issues, I
hopefully,
think we got you a little better off.
I mean, you're catching it at the right time. Now's the time to say, okay, let's decide to do the restoration. And if it takes you, 3 or 4 years to do that, I think you'd be okay. We
Buying every
have
kit- buying
remedial
every kit.
repairs and things like that.
Buying every kit of raincoats, it might be cheap. Anyway, we've got to move
So-
on, so anything else, Walter?
Yeah, just real quick. So the rooftop units on the junior high, they're that same 20-year age? Are they getting to the end of their life expectancy at this point?
Well, we're gonna go over the maintenance list at the end here. So,
Well, the reason I was asking, Julia, was, what I'd hate to, we also need, I think, to take a step back and look and say, okay, if all this HVAC system's gonna come off in 5 years, and it's gonna take us 2 years before we get this thing started, then do we put the new roof on and then replace all the stuff? Or do we look at upgrading the HVAC system and then go back through and put the monolithic coat down?
sort of an aging analysis.
Yes, an aging analysis on the,
Well, we need to
HVAC
talk about it
rooftop
because
units.
everybody's coming in and their new project that they want to do gets number 1. And this committee has often just put it on number 1 because they seem to control the list. However, I'm objecting to that.
Madam,
I'm assuming, gentlemen, you have projects where you have done this and 5 years later, they have put new HVAC equipment
Yeah,
on a roof
yeah.
and the warranty stays as
Yeah.
long as we're working.
So
with
what
it.
happens then, when you do your HVAC work, the HVAC company understands the roof's under warranty. So you come to us, we can give you a list of approved contractors that can do the new curb work. And then they would work with the HVAC company, they would come out and do the work. We would inspect the work when they were done, and it's, the warranty's good. I've never voided a warranty in the 27 years I've been with Trumco. So, and it's because, we just make sure that we have, approved contractors do the work. People like TMR or companies like that, they're one of our approved contractors out this way.
Where's Tremco, where are you guys located?
I live in Blairsville, he lives in, where is
I'm from Blairsville, but I'm closer to like Delmont now.
it? Penn Trafford area, right? Yeah, and then the company's based in Cleveland, but we work out of our homes. There's about 220 of us across the country.
Even international.
Nationals too.
Thank you very much.
Very good.
Appreciate you
Thank you.
coming in.
Yeah.
with Advice.
Did anybody not get copies of those? Because I had more. You got Good.
Number 4, the lightning study. I think we mean to say lighting.
Like,
Okay, Jared, so we're now down to 6:45, so.
this is just really a placeholder for this evening. There is no update. Constellation's still working on that. They've had a change of personnel, but they are still moving forward with it, so.
Did they give you an idea of when?
I would hope maybe in the next month or two, they will be able to come to a Buildings and Grounds and actually present their findings for us.
6 stadium, and I hope we don't spend all night on this one because we did before. Stadium pole and lightning replacement discussion. This is a painful discussion.
It is, but it's necessary because if we're not going to get through Mr. Harley wanted this to be part of the ESCO project, and we do too, right? However, we're quickly running out of time to where if we don't come up with Plan B here, those bulbs burn out regularly. And as it is now, and the gentleman here can correct me if I'm wrong, we're not allowed legally to send anyone up that pole to change it. No one will climb that pole. So as the bulbs burn out, they're going to just
So
be
how
burned.
much money are you asking for right now?
I'm not asking for any money. I think what is the
I thought it
price to get the cable repaired so someone can climb the pole?
22,000.
$22,000, just so that we can that's just to maintain the status quo, to get up there and change the light bulb so we can have football games and soccer games in the fall. And not
At night instead of Saturday afternoon.
right. And something else we could look at. But the other thing though, the ESCO project may recommend we change those to LED. That's a lot of places are going to the LED lights. So I don't know if you want to spend the 22 to get that up there, or you want to we can maybe wait one more month, but after that, we got to know that the repair has to take place this summer, right, gentlemen? For the poles, trying to remember, so we pretty much need to know by April whether or not we're going to get that fixed so that can be ready for football season. Is that accurate?
So you'd want a motion on the next meeting?
Well, I think we also want to present to the committee options, and I know Dave and Cheney have been meeting with this Musco company who are experts in.
Tonight?
I don't know what they have. That's for them
You ready to go?
to discuss where they're at with that.
Last time I talked to him, he said he'd have a price for me by the end of the month. By the end of this month.
So we have a meeting, what date in October, the 10th, or October? April 10th?
8th.
And we can continue with that discussion in April. But what that quote will include is, we have the quote to fix them. What this quote will be could give us options as to replace, keep the current poles we have there, and replace the lighting itself to LED, or to replace the poles themselves with also new lighting.
And how much, do you have some idea? I thought you gave us some numbers the last time of how much.
Between $300,000 and $400,000.
Don't look so thrilled, Jewel.
Well, you started on this list up and everything's now such an emergency. I mean, I'm like, whoa, we're starting to feel kind of light around here, but,
That's why I think that the $22,000 option might be something to consider just as a stopgap until we know better.
okay, so what schedule are you proposing right now? We
I'm
wait till
proposing-
this
I
thing
think we
comes
can wait until the April 22nd. Can we wait till April 22nd to make a decision on fixing the climbing cable? I'm asking the gentleman, I don't.
Yeah.
Yes.
By that time, we should have numbers on their proposal too.
Yeah. So by the next Buildings and Grounds, we'll bring a full proposal about what the LED lights are versus what the climb the pole is, and hopefully we'll know more about the ESCO project by then too, so we'll be able to make a much more informed discussion. We just want to keep this on the radar because
Okay, very good.
we don't want to end up in the fall and have to reschedule football games because we can't see.
Daycare expansion. Here's another one. Daycare expansion at the senior high.
Yes, ma'am. So we have gauged, and we don't need to spend a whole lot of time on this because, Mr. Harley was intimately involved in this design and he's not here. So I think that this is something that we have to do a little bit more research on as well anyway, programmatically. Mrs. Jordan's been working very hard to look for higher ed partners that can work on articulation agreements or dual enrollment credits for that program. We just attended a meeting with all the county partners that talked about CTE credits for such a course. So there might be an option to partner with the surrounding districts as well. So we have a little
You
bit
mean
more.
financially partnering or academically partnering?
Yes.
Yes, both.
Both.
Both. Well, I mean, they would pay for it, right? I mean, but it would be something that maybe like it would run very similarly to a CTE project or at ICTC, you know, so, but again, we just scratched the surface on that discussion on Thursday morning. So I don't even know what I don't know about that yet, but IUP seems to be committed to looking at what kind of articulation we could do to the teacher college at IUP. And if we can do something where our students are getting 15 credits or something like that to articulate it just for doing a program like this that Mrs. George spent a long time perfecting, then that's something we want to put forward. So before we commit to anything long-term, I think we need to look at the program as well.
I really do, because just from having redone a bathroom, in my house, which is nothing. I mean, to what you'd have to do. I mean, my goodness, we're looking at a lot of money here.
So Julia,
For-
this one combined with the next item, we toured the senior high and we looked at the science classrooms and we looked at this program for the early childhood program. And one of the things, and you know, don't shoot me, Wade. Okay. But one of the things that I'm going to suggest that we do is, rather than deal with this daycare expansion in the science classrooms as a one-off or as two one-offs, that we take a look, and this may be at the academic committee first, but take a look at the classroom configurations that we have in a bigger picture and decide whether or not they're configured the way we want them, not just these two individuals. Lay that plan out as to how we lay out our classrooms for the future. And then, once you've got that overall plan laid out, then what you do with the science and what you do with the daycare kind of falls into place. And so right now, the way we assign these classrooms or set these classrooms up is kind of still how you do your elementary schools. The teacher gets assigned a specific classroom, okay, and they're in there most of the time, but then they're not. At the collegiate level, they actually, the professor kind of has, or the teacher has an area that's their office area, and then they go from classroom to classroom to deliver their education program. And the question I'm asking is this maybe a more efficient way and a more effective way? Because if you've got 7 science classrooms or 7 science labs, do we need to upgrade every single one of those if those labs aren't being utilized for the full 8 or 9 periods a day?
Yeah.
Maybe you only need to
Yes.
do 3 or 4 of them and then run those steady that 8 or 9 and then do something different with those classrooms.
Well, absolutely. But there's a lot of ways to look at this. So from an audit and finance perspective and from a buildings and grounds perspective, we could do this all over the district. I've been saying for years, move this room up to Horace Mann and have a whole nother room. I mean, you know, there's all kinds of things that we're going to have to look at eventually. What concerns me right now is we have an elementary school that isn't finished yet. And we're watching it very closely, and it's taking up a lot of time of management, and Larry's here, and everybody's concerned about it. We're all driving by, looking at it. We've stopped in. That has to be done. and we get into construction projects and reconfiguration projects at the high school, in addition to which we've just added this little project, so little, onto this capital projects list, we get overwhelmed. There's only so much our staff can do.
I'm not so much suggesting that we immediately take on the high school,
Okay,
okay, as much as I am sitting down and going through what that, planning it and trying to figure out what that most effective way of delivering the education program would be. And this isn't something we're gonna do tomorrow afternoon.
no,
This is a 6-month or maybe a year process.
please.
And I would defer to Rob to
Yes.
update the kind of timeline or chime in on the timeline
Because I think the timeline's important on this capital project list.
before you'd even pull the trigger and say, yeah, okay, let's do this renovation at the senior high school to bring these classrooms into this new configuration.
So we don't have enough information to do anything tonight.
That's kind of what I'm arguing.
I
Jerry.
agree. I mean, I
That-
hate to agree with them. And I think we talked about that when we were over there, because whenever everybody, you were saying, we can make this room here, this room, but then, I agree, that's a comprehensive look.
It is, and I totally agree. I think everybody here supports the expansion. We support the project in theory. It's a question of, can we pay for it? And if we're gonna prioritize it as the number one and move it up the chart, it's gotta have that, that the outcome.
Comprehensive look.
Correct, and the outcome has to be worth the financial investment. I mean, so I don't think anybody's in a terrible rush for this, but I think we need to do it strategically and
Again,
Tom wanted it done now.
well, I know, but Tom's not here tonight. So one of the things that I've always been a proponent of is that you configure the building to meet the academic program. You don't configure the program to meet the building's needs, okay? You do the academics first, and then whatever that is dictates what facilities you need. And then if you need to make a compromise to keep the chair of the finance department under control, then, of course, that react accordingly. But
Unmanaged.
that's,
And I think this next conversation is going to be key too. I think when we look at those priority lists and we start really digging into what's most important, I think then we'll have a better idea what the timeline is and, all of those things as well.
And I think you're good
they're
at that.
all, I think they're all,
I think you're good at that. You like to do things like this, correct?
All right, so we're done with 6 and 7, so on to 8.
it must have been an emergency call.
Sorry, just teasing. 6, whatever the next one is, please.
And number 8 is just a placeholder. We don't necessarily need to talk about that tonight because Mr. Harley is.
Oh,
skipped
nice.
over the last few times.
Let's
too.
just skip over it.
Yep.
Cell service, update from Randy O'Neill. He's not here. Put that on.
Oh, he's here.
He's online.
He's online. He was meeting with Verizon. I don't know if Cheney or Dave were part of that conversation too, but he was meeting with Verizon because we had discussed at the last meeting about ways to improve cell service at the senior high and junior high.
Has he met?
Yes, I believe he did. Are you there, Randy?
Yeah, Dan and I met with Verizon, I don't know if it was a week or two ago now, and that they are going to set up a meeting for us with a company that they use to extend cell phone services inside their own buildings, for their around the country. So my rep and his boss are going to set up a meeting with that company for Dan and myself. So we don't have a date for that yet, but that's what their recommendation was.
Do you think it'll be in the next month or the next 3 months, or what are you expecting?
I'll email the rep tomorrow to see if we can get a date set up a little quicker.
Is that it?
I'm sorry?
Or is that it? Do you have
Oh,
anything else?
yep, that's it.
Okay, good. 10, capital maintenance updates. As you know, this is one of my pet projects, Jim, so don't get too upset with me, but let's move on to that. So, Jared, you're up.
We have been discussing this capital reserve budget at the last couple meetings. one of the suggestions made at the last meeting was to try and pull out items that we have already done and are already completed instead of kind of mixing them in with open items.
Looks good, Jared.
So that's what I tried to do. That first section, the items totaling just over $1 million there are items that have been approved or either in the works or completely completed at this point and during the 23-24 year. As you know, we update this into the 24-25, those items will completely come off and will never need to be discussed again until they need done again. The second section down under there
Don't stop
are
us from talking about it.
we don't want to continue to talk about the same things over and over. The second group of lists that goes onto the second page there are kind of the open items, things that are continuing to be worked on, items that, you know, could in the future need future board approval.
So
500,000, excuse me, the 500,000 on the roof for East Pike, that's what's left to pay?
That's what a roundabout number that we have paid this year.
What,
Because it was split between the 22-23 school year and the 23-24.
okay. I'm sorry, Walter, go ahead.
So it seems to me, Jared, that if I'm looking at your planned or being considered, some of this stuff like desks and chairs, carpet, concrete repairs, musical instruments, some of this is kind of almost like routine, that every year you do a certain amount of it. Is that correct?
Yeah, if there's an amount listed under plan projects, those are budget figures that the board approves as part of the capital reserve budget approval every year in June. That allows Cheney and Dave and his department to go out and do without coming back for the board. So if they're gonna do carpet replacement, they have up to $50,000 in a year to go do carpet replacement without having the board come back and approve that again. And I let them in that section only because they are items that will continue from one year to the next.
And because you're continually
Yes.
up.
Yep.
Okay,
We should make a different number for that category
I
because it's
agree.
confusing. Can we just make those zeros? Because they happen every year.
Yeah, I like
They're
that.
in the budget, so we already committed to them. But it's recurring,
And I
so it
could-
needs to stay on the list. I agree with you. It should stay in this list, but it should be separate.
I could rise them to the top. I mean, not
Make
number
them
ones, but make them almost
Right.
their own section that these are things that are.
Yeah, just a separate,
the normal routine stuff.
yeah,
Can we call them Rs instead of a number, like recurring or routine?
yeah, something like that.
Recurring.
Yeah, because there's, if you're gonna do it anyway, what we're really arguing over or trying to discern
New
is
stuff we want to take.
what
on.
other things are we gonna actually spend the money on to fix?
Yep.
How
Okay,
come
I-
the two number twos have a price of the junior high, senior high rating,
On the roof of the junior high is a 3.
the stage?
Which one?
The stage rigging, he's saying, junior center high stage rigging, it's under 2.
But they have approved money over on the right.
I believe those were items that were brought by, that we as administration didn't feel that they were number one, but they were items that were brought up and approved by the board to move forward with replacing. So,
But that's been put on hold now
Yes.
because of the ESCO project, so we haven't moved on that.
yeah,
So that
we have not moved on those, but they were approved as part of the budget back in June, so.
And where's this lighting agreement? What number do we have the lighting down on for this stadium?
It's about halfway down the back. No,
Halfway
or
down.
what?
yeah, almost like the second to last item on the front page there.
There it is.
SH Stadium lighting upgrade, senior high, 400 grand.
Just look for the 400 grand.
It's easier.
Yeah, I think that in order for us all to have a common vocabulary among us, we need to sort of set forth some guidelines. I don't think that has to be policy, but some guidelines that would qualify you to be a number 1. And then what would differentiate you between a number 2 and a number 3? Because we move this around very quickly and it's almost like crisis management almost. Or a great opportunity comes along like your grant that you were telling us about. But I think one of the things my suggestion would be you come up with some criteria that would make sense to you. But I honestly think, a need on a scale of 1 to 5, I think we have to determine whether or not, how soon it needs to be done, literally. Because we went from a very exciting proposal tonight to, oh, you could do it in phases over 4 years. That's a big difference, makes a big difference on this list. So I think, and then how soon you as a staff can cope with all of these projects on a timeline. Those would be my criteria, and then how many students it's affecting. And
Well, I think in addition to that, like, the example of the roof tonight is part of the reason that we even talked about it was because of this grant, which is a 30-day, window that we got to get that out.
Yeah.
So it's got to include opportunities, and
opportunity.
it's nice to hear we could phase it in so they come back and say, we only get 10% of expected money. It's not the end of the world. We don't need to put a new roof on there.
Yeah.
This HVAC, East Pike HVAC controls was something I was thinking about for this grant. I mean, that's a $600,000 item.
Remind me what that is, Shane?
That is the old antiquated system that operates, especially on the school side, is operating all those unit ventilators and ancillary heaters. And it's an old electric
talking
over
about it since I've
pneumatic
been-
system. It's an old Barbara Coleman system. That the main brain in each of the unit ventilators is called a PEMCO unit. That's the controller that operates all those devices in there. You can't buy them for about 3 years now. You can buy them by chance on eBay once in a while. That's the only place you can get them. That control system we are past end of life on that control system, and it's scary.
So is that something to consider?
That is to convert
Yeah, I mean, we couldn't look at,
the
it
controls
depends how quickly we can
to
get
newer
quotes
stuff
for
without
it.
changing unit ventilators.
Can we make 2 grant applications?
I haven't seen where but there is a limit on the number of applications.
We're gonna ask anyway.
Well, I think this is a vast improvement. And we're asking for some tweaks even yet.
Yeah, I do. I then if we do that R for the routine or whatever you want to call it, and show that as a separate block, then that'll make it, pare that list down to something that's a little more manageable. Yeah.
Anything for the good of the order right now?
Why did Dan do it?
7 of 7, that's great.
Nice job, Joe.
Nice job.
Might just get
I just have one
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
cautionary comment to make about this roofing proposal and how they said it's low VOC. It's just comparable to painting. If you remember back when we were doing the painting of the drive-it material around Ben Franklin and Eisenhower. At Eisenhower, if you recall, when they weren't even painting, they were just caulking around there. We had a major issue with the teachers over there, and it became a big thing because of the smell. That was just caulking. Very similar. If you would ever look at doing that roof, it should be during the summertime.
Yeah. You can tell they
You don't want to play with fire there,
Yeah, after summer camp is over.
because it was ugly. That got nasty.
It's just hard for me to wrap my head around. You're on the roof. It will smell in the building doing
They
it
were
on the roof?
losing their minds. They wanted material safety data sheets for what we were, it got ugly.
How can make people sick?
There was a
And they were
situation.
hypersensitive people.
But, and granted, I used to, as a lifeguard, when you deal with all the chemicals, the one morning I opened up St. Vincent's pool and I had to add chlorine to it. And the one guy that came in threw a giant fit because he smelled the chlorine. And yeah, I get it.
But the part of the problem, though, Jim, is the way the ventilation systems kind of work. I seem to recall, and Terry, maybe you do too, where they were doing something over at Horace Mann, and there was gas leak outside the building
Mm-hmm.
that got sucked into the building.
Tell you exactly what it was.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
and so even though it was counterintuitive, oh, well, it's outside the building, it's not a big deal, right?
Right.
But it got pulled in.
But it got sucked, and there was something weird about it.
In the third floor of the junior high, all the air handlers on the third floor draw their intake air from the roof.
No, then that's a problem,
Those
yeah.
louvers were the metal shavings.
Before we go, we didn't go over this specifically, but make sure you like this sheet you did. The only thing I would ask is when you do the,
Wait, where's that sheet?
It's called Buildings and Grounds Eisenhower Summary of Change Orders. Make sure you
Oh,
look it
that one,
over.
yeah, yeah.
I like the way you've done it. It certainly makes things more clear, but when you have total of current contracts, 21 million, can you put a line across them? A whole line across there so we see that it's, because I was reading it with Renick Brothers and then I'm like, I can't do it. Just as a verbal cue. Or put stars around it or something.
Just that one area.
You may want your line above.
So that we,
Bless you.
or drop it down a little lower. That's all you have to do is just to put total.
Yeah, just if you added another space or two, that would stand it off enough.
So it separates
Yeah.
the individual contractors from the total amount.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we got a lot done.
Good job, Julia, as they say.
I would also like to nominate Julia for future meetings.